Hello and welcome to today's campaign conversation ahead of Cannes. I'm Jameson Fleming, the editorial director here at Campaign and MM&M. And joining me here today is Fabien Magalon, the CEO of Xpln. Welcome in.
Thank you for having me, Jameson.
I'm excited to have today's conversation because we're talking all things attention. And the title of today's session is Not All Impressions Are Created Equal, Why Legacy Metrics Are Quietly Failing Advertisers. So it's a great topic because everybody is all about measurement these days, and you guys are all about attention. So tell me a little bit about Xpln before we jump into the conversation.
So Xpln is a attention measurement technology provider. We work mainly with agencies and brands, and we help them understand how qualitatively their campaigns have been delivering against all sort of digital inventory.
Great. And so legacy metrics like viewability and completion rates have powered digital advertising for probably 2 decades now. But tell me, what's broken about them, and why are advertisers just now starting to feel it?
Yeah, so viewability and completion are great metrics. They've been invented probably 20 years ago. Back then they were really useful. Viewability was a way to understand if an ad was displayed on screen, yes or no. But fast forward 20 years later, things have changed massively. And viewability, which has been used by agencies and brands as the primary in-flight media KPI to define quality, is currently not working anymore. And it's pretty easy to demonstrate. If you take any campaign that is running on the open web, it's probably delivering incredibly high viewability rate, incredibly high completion rate. But if you actually were running an eye tracking study on these same publishers that score really well on these two KPIs, you'll find out that most of the ads are ignored, and only a fraction of them are seen for more than 2 seconds. So I think that creates a huge opportunity for agencies and brands to do better. Attention is one of the metrics that they can use to do better. And how is attention, solving the problem that viewability and completion don't solve anymore? I think it's related to the way these metrics have been designed. So viewability and completion are binary metrics. It's literally, is the ad on screen, yes or no? Or did the video finish, yes or no? And unfortunately, that doesn't tell a complete story.
Sure.
When you think about it, an ad could stay on screen for maybe 1 or 2 seconds, but could be very small, could be in a corner, could be played with sound off, could be surrounded with tons of other ads in the wrong context, drive no engagement. So there are actually a number of contextual signals that brands could leverage to have a better understanding of how an ad has been displayed on screen, and what's the potential impact this ad is going to have on their users.
Yeah, and I know you say that not every impression gives your creative the same chance to work. So unpack what that means for me.
Yeah, what that means is that you can measure 2 impressions, and they will be measured as delivered. They might even be measured as valid according to viewability or completion, but they will be displayed sometimes in completely different conditions. So an ad could be delivered full screen, sound on, in a super premium environment, in a low ad clutter environment, and another ad could be delivered in a very small video player in the bottom right corner of the screen with sound off, surrounded with 3 or 4 different ads, driving literally 0 engagement in a poor quality context. Both ads will be labeled as delivered and valid from a viewability perspective, but actually they drive a very different value to the clients. And that's what is behind the concept of measuring attention. It's about moving from a binary definition of quality, which is, was the ad on screen, yes or no, to a multifactorial definition of quality that includes every contextual signal that can be captured real time when the ad is delivered, to build a more nuanced scoring of the quality of the delivery, and a more nuanced scoring of the potential impact on effectiveness of your ad.
So most attention vendors stop at measuring media, but Xpln does media and creative on the same scale. So why does that pairing matter? And what does an advertiser see as a result that they couldn't see before?
Yeah, so why does that matter? Because the effectiveness of an ad campaign is at the intersection of, getting the right creative in the right placement and the right media. So effectiveness is driven by both sides. And we believe, you can deliver better results for a brand if you actually manage to measure both how much attention a media can deliver, but also simultaneously how much attention a creative demands. So it's really that concept of supply and demand. Media can supply a certain level of attention, and creative actually demands a certain level of attention. And interestingly, back to the point of high and low attention media, low attention media is not necessarily bad. Actually, some creative are going to perform extremely well in low attention placement just because they've been designed in a way so that they only demand a short amount of attention to get the message through. Some creatives are designed to, build emotion, have a complex narrative, will actually demand a very long level of attention, and you should be careful as a brand to actually deliver this in placement that are capable of providing, enough supply of attention for that creative to actually perform. So that's what we call the attention fit. You need to make sure you actually measure on the same scale how much a creative demands, how much a media can supply, and match these two to maximize effectiveness of your media plan.
Yeah, that's really fascinating because I think we hear a lot about brands trying to customize creative based off of who's watching and any number of dozens of characteristics, but I never really thought about the idea of the environment that they're seeing it and also customizing it based off of maybe where it's on the screen and what it's surrounded by. So that's
but
really
also
fascinating.
It is fascinating, but also like in a very simple manner, like you as a user, you're probably experiencing like scrolling extremely fast on social media. It's very unlikely that you will get any performance from this type of media and placement if your creative has been designed to actually, be seen or be understood after 10, 15 seconds.
Interesting. So if you're a CMO and you're trying to remember one number, should it be attention seconds? Should it be attentive CPM? Something else? How do you make attention a metric that a non-specialist can actually act on?
So our clients usually are going to, pay attention the most to what we call attentive CPM, which is basically the combination of the price they pay for the media, the value they get from that media, and the matching also with the volume of attention that the creative is demanding. And the ACPM actually managed to combine the three key metrics. And in more simple words, what that means for a brand is that by optimizing on attentive CPM, they can actually, at equivalent budget, maximize the volume of impressions, so the reach and the frequency of users that have been exposed with the right level of attention to each of their creative. And that's what's going to maximize the opportunity and the effectiveness of the campaign.
So I've got two final questions for you. I asked your colleague, Gina Cavallo, who's your CRO, the same two questions. I think the perfect way to end this conversation. And the first one is, when you're talking with clients, what is one myth that you have to dispel about attention?
Okay, when we start measuring attention with clients, the first myth we have to work on is that maximum attention is not maximum effectiveness. Like there are, the first analysis that a client might make when they're exposed to the different level of attention of all of the partners they're working with on their media plan. They might think, oh, I should remove low attention and focus exclusively on high attention placements. And that is very likely a mistake because there is a lower incremental return, after a certain point of attention. And over investing on maximum attention will actually usually get your CPM increase, your reach decrease, and your overall effectiveness, not be as strong. So the best approach is to actually optimize on enough attention. So exclude, what is actually extremely low attention or useless inventory or wasted inventory, but not over optimize on maximum attention.
And we're going to close out the conversation here with your spicy hot take on the marketing industry right now. What do you got for me?
So I think the hot topic of the industry right now is how to advertise on large language models. And I think it's still a big unknown right now. And my sentiment is that the LLM will actually make multiple suggestions to clients, to users, and users will then make more and more decisions based on their favorability, brand favorability, how much they recognize the brand, which will actually, shift part of the investment from brands back to, branding awareness, and less on hardcore, performance metrics.
Yeah, I fully subscribe to that. I think we have seen so many brands shift back from performance to brand building. And I feel like we just keep seeing case study after case study of it's worth it. So I fully agree with where you're going with that. That'll do it for today's campaign conversation ahead of Cannes. He's Fabien Magalon, the CEO of Xpln. I'm Jameson Fleming, the editorial director here at Campaign. Thank you so much for joining me, Fabien.
Thank you.